welcome back to my channel. I'm Justeria. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to deal with PMDD in natural, holistic ways. Now, if you don't know what PMDD is, it is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Basically, it's PMS on steroids, and you normally have symptoms for 2 weeks out of the month versus 1 week out of the month, or you have really extreme symptoms for 1 week versus just mild to minor symptoms when you have PMS. This doesn't have to be just a video on PMDD. This can relate to PMS if you want to find more natural ways to help with PMS, or any menstrual disorders like dysmenorrhea, which is painful periods, or PCOS, Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, and also with endometriosis, which also is a painful period. So definitely, take these notes as well for that too. I haven't done a PMDD update in a long time, probably about 6 months or more, because I filmed one in my old apartment, telling you a little bit about my story and background with PMDD. I'll link that above for you guys to watch, but as well, I'll say a little bit about my PMDD experience in the past. I decided to do this week's theme on PMDD since I am in the middle of the PMDD cycle. We are on day 27 about. I've yet to have my period, but I'm definitely full force in PMDD these past 2 weeks. Right into a little bit about my story. I do not like to label myself with PMDD. I don't like to say my PMDD, clear, cancel, delete. I do not like to own it. I don't want to own it. That is the conscious language part of me. But in order to identify and to share my experience and to hopefully help others, give resources, or just my story in general, I have to tell you what it is and that I have it and I've been diagnosed in the past with it. On that note, I do believe that the disease in the body, or dis-ease, when you separate the word in conscious language, is just distress in your body, or your body is trying to tell you that there's something wrong, whether you're in pain, the C word, or you have disease in your body. The body is trying to tell you, because our bodies are made to heal ourselves. The body is amazing how it works, and I am a definitely big believer in that, and I'm a big believer in holistic alternative treatments. Now, I have been dealing with PMDD for about 9 to 10 years. I was diagnosed 3 years ago when I moved to Arizona. I was just doing a lot of research on it, and I was actually doing research on PMS symptoms because at that time I knew that it linked, and something popped up. Thankfully, the universe has gave me information that it was PMDD. I did this test. I had almost 10 out of 10 of the symptoms. I went to the doctor, and my doctor confirmed that I had PMDD. Now, when I started to realize when I had PMDD was in my 20s, early 20s. I'm 27 now. PMDD started for me when I would say I've had it for in the past I've had it for a really long time. But I've started to deal with it more when I started like college, because I was getting a lot more stressed out with working and going to school and then moving and stuff like that. Now, I'm definitely different back then than I am now, because I've learned different coping skills that I will be sharing with you in today's video. And I know what it is. I was able to identify it, and that's what's so great about identifying with things, but also not labeling yourself like that in a victim mode or saying that it's mine. You want to detach from saying mine blank, because you don't want to own it for whatever. I promise you, I'm sure anybody who's watching this video right now does not want to own this, because it's not fun. When I found out, it gave me relief, because I was like, okay, now I could work towards helping myself and moving towards healing. Part reason why I moved to Arizona, because it's always sunny here, and I thought maybe, being in the sun would help me. And it does help me in some cases, but I was still experiencing the same symptoms, and that was what made me look up and research, because I eventually paid attention to the cycle. In the past, I've always said that I was always on this constant roller coaster, and I'm highly emotional, and everyone would be like, oh, you're so emotional, and you have to be careful who you also express yourself to, because people take it the wrong way or have no idea what's going on, because you don't even know what is going on. It affected my relationships, with my family and my significant other relationships. It affected my job. To this day, it still affects my job, it affects school, it affects my daily life. But we're working towards ways to minimize that. So when my reaction to back then with PMDD to now is totally different. I still have my moments, and you could still relapse, and that's why I want to talk about this, because I have relapsed this month. I've had a relapse, and I haven't had one this whole entire year, and I'll discuss that in a minute of why I relapsed. In the past, I had, suicidal thoughts. That is a very real thing for someone who has PMDD. I had a lot of suicidal thoughts. I had a lot of personal attack to myself and personal attack to others, and just not wanting to exist, because when you're going through this kind of suffering mentally, it is really, really stressful, and it's really taxing, especially if you don't even know what's going on. And I've done a lot of research, and in the past it said that it was, a lot of people would diagnose you with bipolar disorder, but in reality they start later on in the years linking it to your menstrual cycle. Now, I started paying attention to what was going on, and actually back then I had a friend, and we would, be emotional during the same time, and we'd be crying on the phone together, and it would always in a cycle, and I started realizing, wow, this is a cycle thing, and it's related to the menstrual cycle. So I started putting pieces together and realizing that it was linked to my menstrual cycle. So before that, I thought there was something wrong with me. I just thought I was highly depressed and had anxiety, which goes along with it, but it's a lot more than that. And I started to realize, oh, this is linked to my menstrual cycle. And obviously I was, living a busy life, going to school, going to work. I'm still doing the same thing, going to school, going to work, and, living life. So I came to Arizona, and I found out that I was diagnosed with PMDD in the past. I would say now, I went through phases, doing different things to help me, but I would say now is when I'm 100% really focusing on working towards healing completely and keeping my stress levels low, and to pay attention to my cycles, because it's obviously connected to your cycles and whatnot. That's a little bit about my story in that. So my reaction from back then, I was, highly isolating myself and taking everything personal, and just a total different person. Everything in life just seemed so hard, and I thought the whole world was against me. And this is what I felt at the time, because I had no idea what was going on. Versus now, my reactions, I don't really have suicidal thoughts anymore. I know more what it is, so that I detach from so much, disaster, that my life is a disaster, clear, cancel, delete, or that my life is miserable, clear, cancel, delete. However I felt way back then, I no longer feel that way. Now, I still have high intensities at times throughout my cycles and stuff, but I have better coping skills with it, and it's a lot of work, and you have to put the effort in. Basically, my reaction from the past to now is totally different, because I have a lot more awareness to it, and I paid attention to what was going on, and my life experiences started to show me that this is what is going on, and now I have ways for PMDD to be treated naturally. Now, I have in the past gone on birth control because I've had PMDD and I couldn't handle it, and I did not want to go on it, and guess what? The birth control pill did make it worse. Personally, for me, this is strictly my experience, and it made it worse, and I got off of it because I just didn't want to do it. But now I have so many natural treatments and natural ways to handle it, and I don't need to go on birth control. any medications. If that's something that you have to do, that is something you have to do. But I've always said no matter what, I will not go on antidepressants. That's just personally my personal preference, and I've never been on that, so I wouldn't be able to tell you whether that helped me or not. It's because some people it helps and some people it doesn't. But I'm more of a person of a holistic approach and treating it naturally. I will say that last year was a very hard year for me, and personally I was going through a lot of things, and I had a lot of relapses, and PMDD was not that great last year for me. But I did, seek out homeopathy. Homeopathy medicine is to help balance out things that are going on, and it's like energetic medicine. Definitely go look that up. And I seeked out a homeopathy at my school because they offered it. And at first it wasn't, working for me. It was actually, when you're dealing with this stuff, you're going to be releasing a lot of different things. And that is normal. That is the process of healing trauma. And I went on 4 different doses of whatever the homeopathy person gave me, and she was also a counselor, so it was like a bonus of 2 in 1. And now that I'm not on the homeopathy medicine and looking at this year, I definitely see the process that I was going through and that it did really help me. So that is one option, is to, get a homeopathy treatment if you're open-minded to that. Now, this whole year, I definitely, had my moments, but my PMDD is pretty much tamed. I, have become a vegan. I, exercise. I started exercising again, or more frequently, and really, taking self-care and taking that time out for myself and doing the things that I love. So all those things definitely helped me, except for this month. I definitely had a relapse, and I have a lot of things that are changing in my life. If you haven't seen, my boyfriend is getting deployed in October for a year. I found out the next place we would be going to, which is overseas. I'll share that in another video another time. I'm switching into the acupuncture program and graduating, because I was in acupuncture and herbs, and I'm switching just into the acupuncture program, and I'm graduating by next year instead of 2020, so I'm going to be loading up a lot, so that in itself is stressful. And I'm shutting down my massage business, because I do own a business, and I'm shutting that down because I'm extremely overwhelmed. Now, when I was getting my homeopathy treatments, I was feeling very, very overwhelmed in a different way, to the point that I just did not want to be here on the planet. I had so much anger and tension in my chest and my throat that I couldn't study, I couldn't go to work. It was just, everything was really affecting me in my life in that time, and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. And I was really, down talking myself and judging myself, and that just made the spiral even worse, and I was going down, down, and down. But I got myself out of that. I started doing things I love, did the homeopathy treatment, going to therapy, and different things like that. I have relapsed this past 2 months, especially this month of April has been really, really hard for me. I've had 3 anxiety attacks, and my stress level has been sky high, more than it has been in a while. So it makes sense that I've had a relapse, and I am also in an infertility class right now, which we're all talking about the menstrual cycles, and we're doing, basal charting, which I will talk about later on in class. We're talking about basal temperature charting and different things like that. And this year I've been really, looking more through research how to naturally deal with PMDD. I've talked to a dietitian and different things like that. I really want to help you women out there that are dealing with this as well, so that we could support each other. And if there's something that I've mentioned or something that will help you, even if I help one person, that means a lot to me. Now, with PMDD, there's definitely trauma linked to it. I definitely believe that 100%. most of the trauma could probably stems from childhood trauma, but it also could be trauma throughout your life. But if you've had it for a very long time, it's mostly going to come through child trauma, and whatever the situation, it could be any type of trauma. It could be mental, physical, sexual abuse, or it could just simply just be any other kind of traumas. There's all different kinds, and you might not have just had one trauma, it could be multiple. Now, I know I basically just told you my whole story about PMDD, but I want to give you a backstory so that you can understand my experience, and so that we could talk about the natural PMDD treatments that have helped me and might help you as well. First thing that I would say is to start with not having judgment towards yourself, because with PMDD we definitely internalize, and we definitely personally attack ourselves and personally attack other people that we're close to or whoever's in our environment. Now, you definitely do not want to say, I am bad, clear, cancel, delete, I am worse, I am not capable of working, I suck, I can't not get my life together. Those are a lot of things that I've said in the past, that why can't I be normal? Why can't I get my life together? Clear, cancel, delete that. You do not want to keep that in your conscious and subconscious mind, and things like that, and why this and why that and why that, and it's just a continuous spiral. When you're experiencing PMDD, you're a total different person. You're not your true authentic self. And that's basically what we're trying to do, is to get you back to your true authentic self 100%. When you're dealing with PMDD, all these hormones are fluctuating in your body, and that's what's giving you moody, and then you're having all these emotions. You're not thinking in your brain the right way. So your brain can play tricks on you and think all these negative things, because our brain is actually made to think negative and for survival. When you have all these hormones and all these emotions and all these different things happening, your brain is not going to be like your brain when you're not on PMDD, and your brain's going to go against you and play tricks with you, unless there's truth to whatever it is that you're saying. But most of the time, at least from my experience, my brain is playing tricks on me of things that I'm not true, because I would, notice when I'm on my period, I'm like, why was I thinking that? Or, oh, that's not true. So definitely having a non-judgment toward yourself is a huge, huge thing, and nothing is bad. And that is something you really have to learn, that nothing is bad, and you're experiencing this emotion for a reason, and your body's trying to tell you something. With PMDD or with anything, any pain or emotion, your body's trying to tell you something, because it wants to release. It wants to be processed, released, let go, so that you can move forward and enjoy your life. So you want to practice non-judgment to yourself and mindfulness. And different ways to do this is saying mantras, doing yoga, meditation. All these things definitely have helped me and still help me to this day. You want to just sit with your emotion and start sitting with how you feel. You want to start sitting with your emotions and start sitting with how you feel. A great way I like to do that is to journal. This week I have journaled a couple times this week, and I started to release these emotions, these pent-up emotions, these suppressed emotions that I was holding in. And a way to journal is whatever you believe in, whatever source or faith that you believe in, you could write to that, or write to yourself and you sit there with your feelings. Now, this could be scary and this could be fearful for you. When you do this, you're connecting to your inner child, and you're connecting with your higher self as well. And when you sit there, how am I feeling? Sense where the feeling is in your body, whether it's in your chest, your stomach, wherever it is. Connect with yourself and ask yourself, how am I feeling? And the second question you would do is, when did I first feel this feeling? Now, don't judge yourself. If nothing comes up, this will take time. If you are not someone that usually connects with yourself, I'm very spiritual, and I've done a lot of this work in the past. So if this is something new to you, maybe watch some YouTube videos on it, on how to do it, or if you are interested in me doing another video on how to do inner child work, I could definitely do that. But I've done this with therapists in the past and stuff, so I know how to guide myself as well. First question is, how am I feeling? The second question is, when did I first feel this way? And see if your body will give you a visual image or a sensation, and write that down. And if you don't get anything, it's okay, it'll take time. Or you may not get anything that day. And then the following question is, when did I feel this way the last time? That is what I did this whole week. It started at 4:14. I started journaling at 4:14, and then you want to look at your emotional and mental feelings and see how you feel, and do an inner child meditation or any like hypnosis meditations on YouTube that will help you, really connect with yourself and connect with your subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind also holds everything in it, and when you start doing this work, it starts to surface and bring it into the conscious mind. So journaling is definitely one way I would suggest into doing. Even if you don't want to do inner child work, you could do journaling with expressing how you feel, just so that you can vent it if you don't have anyone to support, or if you don't even want to, bring those kinds of feelings to that type of person. I've read journals in the past of mine that were highly negative. In the past, I've wrote a lot of pessimistic things, and when I look back, I'm like, oh wow, but I was in Pmdd processing. So it's I'm very thankful that I can identify with what has been going on with myself. With Pmdd, you really want to start paying attention when you are feeling this way, and most of the time it's going to be around your luteal phase, which is usually from day 12 to your menstrual cycle to day 16. It depends on how long your cycle, if you're 28-day cycle or if you're 30, 34-day cycles, which is normal if you don't have a 28-day cycle. A way to start noticing this is by tracking. You want to track everything. I definitely suggest, downloading apps that are going to track your menstrual cycle, but also getting a journal that is strictly menstrual, menses, whatever, Pmdd, whatever journal you want to talk about it. I would like to make it light and fun, like a female system, or a way to connect with yourself with your menstrual cycle. My book for that, and you can I write all my research notes in here. I write down every day of like what I'm feeling when I'm in luteal phase, and you have 4 phases for your menstrual cycle. Luteal phase is when Pmdd normally kicks in. And you want to start tracking everything. You want to start tracking your temperature with basal temperature charts, and you want to start tracking your periods and seeing when you ovulate and when you get your period, and start to make sure that your period is normal, which it's not if you have Pmdd. Whatever it is, just to keep track of it. And then when you start doing holistic treatments, you could present these to your practitioner. Another way that I definitely suggest is going to therapy, and not just going to therapy when you're feeling this way, but going to therapy at least once a week if you have that opportunity to do that. I've done a lot of therapy in the past. I put myself into therapy. No one told me to go into therapy. I think therapy is great. I think everybody should go to therapy, whether you have Pmdd or not. I originally was going to school for psychology. I think all types of therapy is really good for you. And I put myself into therapy at college, at the community college at that time. It was free. Not free. I paid for it through, my tuition. But I was able to go to a counselor, and at that time her name was Celeste, which I loved that name. And that's where I started my journey with therapy. And then I found another therapist. I found a spiritual therapist through a friend, and that's something I connected with all my therapists. That is something really important. You want to connect with them, because if you don't connect with them and you don't feel safe or feel you can communicate everything, then that's a no-go. So you definitely want to connect with your therapist. Definitely, I know it could be scary, or give yourself anxiety, trying therapists, but definitely I encourage you to be courageous and step out of the box and find a therapist for yourself, and life will bring you the right one. I've done the spiritual therapist, like I just mentioned, and that was a lot of inner child work, which is great because PMDD most likely is linked through trauma or childhood trauma. So when you're working with your inner child, all these memories start to pop up, and then you start to, process them, heal them, and move forward. How I'm so different from, my reaction is so different from the past to how it's been now. I've been through therapy a lot, on and off. I was never really consistent with it just because of financial reasons, but I always have my spiritual therapist to see when I really, really need her. I also went to another therapist in Arizona that I paid out of pocket, and that was really great as well. At the moment, I don't have insurance, so I really can't go to therapy unless I pay it out of pocket, and I'm in school, and that's a story in itself. But once I have the opportunity to do it, I will definitely bring it back into my regimen, and it's just a really great way to express yourself and to start to pinpoint where this stuff is going. Even if you don't go to a spiritual therapist and work on your inner child, I also went to another therapist in New York before I moved to Arizona for about 1.5 years, and she was great too, and she wasn't a spiritual therapist. It doesn't matter, just preferably for me, I like the spiritual connection, but the therapist is going to help you. You're gonna start unraveling all these suppressed memories and all these emotions, and then you start to heal them and you start to get better and better. And I'm not saying this is gonna happen overnight. This is a lifelong thing. And I used to see this as a negative way, but now with conscious language and being positive, because I'm a very positive person and I like to have a positive outlook and I'm very open-minded, I see PMDD as a blessing because one, I get to have self-care, have holistic treatments, and take care of myself the right way and to heal, and then also I get to tell you guys and I get to share my story and I get to help people, or even if it's one person, and that makes a huge difference for me because we need to support each other and we need to speak up and use our voice to share to other people what it is that we struggle with or what it is that we're going through, so that people can have more compassion and understand. Sorry, I just went on a little rant on that, but that was needed to be said. There's all kinds of different therapies that you could do. You want to stick to like a cognitive therapy, or you could also try out EDMR. EDMR therapy is usually most common for PTSD. I do have a little bit of PTSD with certain things, but it's not anything extreme, and EDMR helps with PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, which could also, link to whatever trauma that you've had. So the EDMR is most common to use for that. It's a non-traditional psychotherapy, but it gets into the triggers and into I've never personally done EDMR, but I was suggested a couple times to people to do EDMR, and it's basically got into the trigger memory and beliefs, and releasing that and then restoring that and having forgiveness and stuff. EDMR stands for eye movement desensitization. I can't say the word. Desensitization and processing. Sorry guys. Now, doing these natural treatments will take your effort, and with a holistic approach, it's doing all of these together. You want to connect with your body, mind, spirit, and your relationships. So you want to start paying attention to when you're feeling this way and start, charting it, and you really need to take your effort, because if you really want to help yourself, it's going to take your effort. And to get that support, whether it's therapy and family or just one, you definitely want a support system with that too. In the past, I did not feel supported whatsoever, and most people don't understand what it is, so that could be really hard in itself. But with the people that you're close to and who really love you, they'll understand. And you want to start noticing your patterns, because when you start noticing your patterns, you could work on those and you could start changing your beliefs, and you could start noticing and you start, changing your coping mechanisms and not seeing everything so hard. And you start increasing the nurturing aspect of yourself and others, and including helpful stuff that will help you. You want to work on the deeper stuff because this is what is going to have the root cause. So you could do all these outside stuff, but you have to do the inside stuff. You have to do the work in the inside and do the deeper work too, because otherwise you're really not going to progress. With therapy, you're showing up, which is a huge step for yourself and for the therapist, and you know it's a safe place. So that is really huge, and how it triggers in your brain, and your brain starts to realize, oh, I do love myself, and I do want to give myself self-care, and I do want to help myself. It structurally changes the brain, and you start to rewiring the brain. And that's the same way when you start changing your beliefs and your patterns, because you start changing the way you think. Our core beliefs can also be keeping us down and not helping this situation. And as well, you have to, be easy on yourself and gentle, because your brain is used to thinking one way, and when you start to change it, you'll start to feel better, and it will take time. Your brain creates these neural pathways, which is like a shortcut, because your brain wants to get things done in a more efficient way. Now, going back to, being non-judgmental to yourself, because with PMDD, you could start thinking really heavily in a negative aspect, and you want to start thinking positive and choosing your words, conscious language, because your brain is basically, for the most part, telling you lies. And you start to realize that after you are out of the PMDD phase, out of your luteal phase. Usually for me, it's when I get my period that I feel so much better. Once my period comes, it's like a relief, unless like I have cramps or something. But your brain is gonna tell you lies, and you're gonna have these automatic thoughts, and you're gonna be in autopilot. So that is why you have to start paying attention, going to therapy, looking at your patterns, journaling, so that you could start being more conscious and aware of it, and then you get to change the results. Your mind is going to play tricks on you, so pay attention to the distortions and what it is that you're really telling yourself, and don't see it as a bad or not good. Just see it for what it is and be like, I am love. I am a good person. This is not true. And then you start sending that to your subconscious mind, and then your subconscious mind is like, oh wait, we're changing gears. And then your brain starts to change gears. The whole point is to start to be more mindful. Being mindful is definitely a key component. Essentially, a belief is something that you keep thinking over and over again. So start changing your beliefs, your patterns. A combination of holistic therapy that has helped me is acupuncture, therapy, yoga, and spirituality. Spirituality is something really big in my life, and it started when I was 18 years old. And most people who are spiritual have suffered in the past. So my spirituality has definitely helped me in the way I speak consciously and thinking positive thoughts, and meditating, lowers stress levels. But acupuncture, I am in school for acupuncture, so of course I'm gonna preach that, and I've done many different acupuncture treatments that help, and then doing yoga has helped a lot too, because it just helps calm my mind, and that I'm not constantly in my head with all these distortions. I definitely suggest doing more of like a restorative type of yoga, because it's calming, and also aerobic exercises if you don't like yoga. So an example of an aerobic exercises is brisk walking or swimming. Now, all these treatments, you want to do them together as a combo, because when I find that I only do one at a time, it doesn't really help. And then also include therapy. Acupuncture for me can also be a little bit about therapy, because I'm expressing to my acupuncturist everything that's going on, and they could give you positive advice as well, but they're strictly to be acupuncturists. That doesn't mean they can't be advice, because when you're working in this kind of industry, it's bound to happen. But for me, most people don't know that you can express those things to your acupuncturist, but I know I can, and I'm telling you that you can to an extent, but that has helped me as well, since I do not go to therapy right now. It's really great also to, do therapy, because it's someone that you can have an outlet to, and usually with PMDD, you have a lot of tension, and you're fighting with your significant others, or you're fighting whoever it is you're surrounded with. And still to this day, for example, this week with my significant other, my boyfriend, I was, very snappy and had a very short fuse with him, and you know, one day I was angry, one day I was super emotional, one day I felt like super attacked. Even today, like texting him, I felt like, oh, you're like aggravating me. And that's not like my true intention. I love him. He's a very good support system for me. He's very compassionate and caring. And I'm very blessed because in the past I've had very toxic relationships that were not supportive. And you have to really be careful with the people that you surround yourself with and the people that you express this to, because people will not understand and they will take it in a different way. I've lost friendships because of it, and I've probably lost relationships because of it too, but that is probably a good thing because they were toxic. But if someone's gonna tell you, oh, you're highly emotional or any of those negative things, you just have to, instead of engaging in a negative way, and just say, that is very disrespectful and I just need space. The best way to diffuse things is to just say, listen, I'm going through this phase right now and I just need space. And that is another way to cope with it. And a better way that I can say to my significant other is to be like, hey, I'm in my luteal phase right now. Please be gentle with me. Please, if, you know, one thing I don't like is to be touched when I'm going through this. I do not like it. So a way I can express to my partner, which I will, is, you know, hey, I'm in my luteal phase right now, PMDD. I don't really, you know, we want to try to, you know, discharge the connection with PMDD, like the energy to that. So you could just say, hey, I'm in my luteal phase right now. So can you just, you know, be aware that the next 2 weeks, I need you to be really gentle with me. Don't make fun of me, or, you know, don't touch me. Give me my space when I need my space, or I'll tell you when I need more love and compassion. Those are different ways that you can express yourself. And it doesn't just have to be with a significant other. It could be the people that you're surrounded with. Instead of automatically going in and being that raging hormone, let's just say it like that, like it's a raging hormone and you're just like, ah! I've done that. I've, you know, walked in school really pissed off and like people are like, oh, how are you? And that would trigger me even more. And instead, start to, you know, be aware of that and be aware, okay, this is how I'm feeling. And then just, hey, I just need space. And the person should respect you and they will understand. Even if they don't know that you have PMDD, they will understand. You know, people go through things, all different kind of struggles and stuff and daily lives. And I've done that too. You know, I've told my friend, hey, I just need space right now. And once she gave me that space, I was able to, you know, diffuse that energy, and then I was in a better mood. An acupuncture treatment that I like to do is NADA, or acupuncture detox. They call it AcuDetox or NADA, and it's in the ear. And it's really simple for me to put the needles in my ear for myself, or you could simply do acupressure, because I'm sure you don't needle or in school for acupuncture, but you could do acupressure and hold the point for about 10 to 20 seconds, and it'll still stimulate the point. Now, there's 5 different points in the NADA protocol, and the first one is parasympathetic, which is gonna be inside in here, and then you're gonna have Shen, which is gonna be, it's like a fish eye in this little area here, and it's gonna be like in the tip of that. And then you're gonna have kidney, liver, and lung, which is gonna be towards the center. But there's different pictures, but my teacher said the lung is more towards the center. So there's different things that those 5 points do promote, but definitely there's a ton of other points that will help with PMDD. I have done a project on PMDD in the past, doing research, medical, you know, like research and looking up data, and it has been helpful, and they do it in like a 3-month cycle segment, but you have to keep up with it. You can't just stop. So I definitely notice when I don't get acupuncture treatments, my period or my PMDD isn't as that great. But when I do have treatments, I have a lot of relief and whatnot. So the parasympathetic and the sympathetic is going to balance out your nervous system. It's going to balance out your hormone system. And it helps with fight and flight. Shenmen is a very calming point, and it helps with insomnia and calms the spirit. and any like mental, you know, distortions or like mental stress that you have, Shenmen is definitely one of my favorite points. The kidney, it is related to the emotion fear, so that's really helpful because usually with PMDD a lot of fear pops up, and kidney, you know, regulates the fluids in our body, and it also correlates with lower back pain. So if you're having lower back pain, that point can help as well. And then we go into the liver, which most women, if you have a menstrual disorder or anything with your issues with your menstrual cycle, it's gonna start to stem from liver qi stagnation. And the liver is all about the smooth flow of qi, and qi is your life force and your the energy that's within your body. So the liver is related to that, and it's related to the eyes, and it's related to, you know, the blood, storing the blood. And liver qi stagnation, the liver is all about the smooth flow of qi, so that is really helpful in itself. And as well, releasing anger. Liver is connected with the emotion anger. And then lung is any like respiratory issues. It's related to the emotion grief. So you'll probably have grief with PMDD as well. And all these 5 points just create a very relaxing treatment for yourself. If you're scared to go to just acupuncture, there's detox centers for acupuncture. They also use this for people who are, you know, going through withdrawals and, you know, any addictions that they're trying to treat. It's known to be very successful and have a high successful rate. Matza, which is a herb, and it's called mugwort, if you've ever watched Harry Potter. Matza is really great too because it warms the blood. But again, ask your acupuncturist. It depends on what TCM pattern that you have. Yoga is really great because it just gives us a safe place, and it helps us release emotions doing the different body movements, and it's really relaxing, and it's a great stress reliever, and it's just a great way to connect with yourself again. So when you're moving through the yoga poses, you're also focusing on your breath, which creates more oxygen and blood in your body and helps you release all things that you don't need in your body, all these toxins and whatnot. It also helps balance out the, you know, nervous system. Now, going into food, diet definitely plays a key role into PMDD, and I found this dietitian online, and she created the Cycle Diet. As you can see, it says thecyclediet.com, and I'll link it down below. And she talks about, and with buying this, I also got a free session. Well, I bought a session with her to speak to her about different things. So different things can be linked to PMDD. If you have thyroid issues, that can also be linked to that. But she has all these different things in the table of contents, discussing the reproductive system, discussing what PMDD and PMS is, and then she gives you different foods to eat while you're on PMDD. And she has sections here. She has shopping list, and then she has a gluten-free option if you're gluten intolerant. So she will have, you know, the follicular phase, which is your day 1 to day 14 of your cycle, and different things you could eat on that. And then your luteal phase, days is 15 to 28. And there's just different recipes that you can eat on there. And I thought that is really helpful, and I really, you know, like that. And I bought this in, I think, January. Another little book that I actually found in an old friend of mine, her apartment. It was like, there was a bunch of free books, and I found this, and I had this stuck away for a very long time, and I found it when I was, you know, looking into PMDD. It's like falling apart because I didn't buy it new, but it's Renewing Female Balance, and she talks about different foods and talks about the hormones and different things, and this is just for, you know, PMS, and she talks about, you know, breast swelling and stuff, but this is this is very informative as well. So I'll see if I can find a link to her information. Let's talk about what I've found throughout a ton of research. What are the main things that they suggest in Western medicine to help with PMDD, which is, I found magnesium, calcium, B vitamins, and vitamin D. Those are the 4 main supplements that I found. But naturally, you want to eat those type of foods and get them in natural ways. But if you're just starting to change the way you eat and supplementing, I definitely suggest taking the supplement if you're having a hard time in eating those kinds of foods. Now, with me, with PMDD, and I'm sure with you, I have huge cravings when I am PMDDing. I crave sugar like nobody's business. There were times where I would be like, babe, to my boyfriend, babe, buy me Oreos. And I don't normally eat things with high fructose syrup, but that was like my go-to. If you are having those cravings, I suggest buying something more organic, because I usually gravitate towards an organic foods. I will buy the Newman's organic Oreos instead. If you are not working on your cravings, that is something that I need to work on. And again, this is a process, so you work at one thing at a time. It's definitely been a struggle for me in the past. And in the cycle diet, she does suggest a vegetarian low carb fat diet. There's other suggestions online that eating a vegetarian diet through that phase is suggested. I'm also a vegan now, but if you're still eating junk food, that is not going to help you, obviously. But I have noticed not as intense cravings. Like when I was vegetarian, I would crave dairy a lot, but now I'm more craving like salt and sugar, like chips and cookies and different things like that. So I definitely have to work on my intake of vitamins and minerals. And why is food important? Because your food, if you're eating inflammatory foods or stress related type foods such as sugar, it's going to increase the PMDD. It's going to increase it up, because that is just what happened. And when you change your diet, it can shorten the PMDD or shorten your symptoms. You want to learn ways to manage nourishing PMDD. Now, like I said before, you want to stick to like a whole foods diet versus eating like caffeine, alcohol, or sugar and salt foods that are gonna trigger more. I don't really drink alcohol, so I don't know if that would trigger me, but I know the sugar and the salt definitely triggers. The salt is gonna, trigger breast swelling, which I have right now because I've been eating a ton of salt, as well bloating. And then the sugar, I definitely feel like when I eat the sugar this week that I feel very low, and it's been making me feel really crappy, but also it can trigger a really bad mood too, and for you to be snappy. So if you're eating crappy food, it's going to increase your stress hormone, which is cortisol, and it's going to decrease your serotonin levels, which is like your happy hormone. So when I'm saying, like the sugar and salt, it's like overconsumption. It's like eating a ton of it in excess amount. So if you're having issues with the cravings, then just slowly cut back, or not even cut back, add healthy foods to your diet. Because that is, at least you're still getting, the benefits from the whole healthy foods, and then you're still, eating the crappy foods, but at least you're still adding healthy foods to your diet. Sugar is really bad for us. It's linked to giving us anxiety, it's linked to giving us cramps, and might increase your mood swings as well. And then the sodium is the fluid retention, which is going to bloat you and give you the breast swelling and tenderness. Caffeine is going to make you irritable, angry, it's going to give you the insomnia, and it's going to give you anxiety. Drink, like, for example, like 2 cups a day. Try to go down to 1 cup. I personally don't drink coffee, but sometimes I will have a caffeinated, super green tea. It's just really how your, body reacts to it, but obviously alcohol is not good for our liver, and our liver has to detox from it, and it could cause dehydration. So if you drink alcohol, try to minimize it or take it away when you are in your luteal phase, and try to take any of these out of your luteal phase if you can. Now, the reason why we have all these cravings is because our body is in a ton of stress while we're in the PMDD phase. It essentially makes sense that we're having all these cravings, because your body is craving either magnesium, craving the B vitamins, and it's craving the calcium. So definitely, look to see what you kind of have to experiment with your foods and supplements, And make sure you do your research on the amount of milligrams that you're supposed to be taking. Definitely try to take the lowest milligrams so that you don't get any side effects. So again, your body is desiring those happy feeling hormones, the serotonin levels. Your cortisol is getting increased and your serotonin is decreasing. And your serotonin, it relies on the amino acid tryptophan. And you can find tryptophan in like dates. If you eat 1 date a day, it's supposed to help with insomnia because it has tryptophan in it. So definitely find foods that have tryptophan in it. Nuts, whole grains, vegetables, fruits. Definitely incorporate those in your diet. Probiotics, you want to, support your gut. Herbal tea, I drink a lot of herbal tea. A thing I like to do is green tea with a cinnamon stick. And if you do this regularly, you will notice that your periods are lighter because the cinnamon does help with circulation of blood. I've also done a lot of research and found that chasteberry, it's an herb, a berry, and it's also called Vitex, has been really helpful, but that's something long term. I personally never have used it yet, but maybe in the future I will. And that's something you want to take daily, but it's known to help PMDD. Include omega-3 fatty acids. Ways you could do this is walnuts if you are not a vegan. Other ways is for, like salmon, eating salmon 2 to 3 times a day. I also drink MindWise Young Living supplement that has omega-3s in it as well. And chia seeds have omega-3 fatty acids in it and hemp seeds. You want to have a combination of acupuncture, yoga, meditation therapy, diet, self-care. All these things are in a combination, and this is what's going to help you. And if you only have time to do one, then do one, but you're really not going to see results until you have it in as a whole. Essential oils are another way that can help you because it is from plant blood. It is from plants that get distilled, and the essential oils hit your bloodstream within 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds, probably shorter than that. But you want to get 100% natural, organic, therapeutic grade type of oils. I know with Young Living they have a feelings kit which can help support emotional release. I personally haven't had it yet, but I do use other oils that help support my female system. Getting massages, being creative, doing something that you love, connecting with your inner child. Again, it just doesn't have to be with journaling. Whether you like playing music or painting or watching old movies, anything that will connect with your inner child and will bring up those serotonin levels and make you happy. Research is another way that has helped me. Doing a bunch of research has helped me because it helps me feel that I am normal, and it helps you, be your own doctor and do your own research and see what works for you, because not all these things are going to work for you or for another person. We are all different and individual, and different things are going to work for us. Also, prayer, if that is something that you're into, or reading the Bible, or connecting with the universe or a higher power or source, can definitely help you with this process as well. Including natural products like using a menstrual cup. I do have a Diva cup. It doesn't really work out for me. I would like to try the Luna cup in the future. Also, using non-toxic tampons or pads, or doing a pad underwear now that they have, or getting recyclable disposable pads so that you're not getting those toxins or perfumes that they put in conventional products. Those are different ways that you could do that. Fashion is huge. You want to keep fluids going. Seed cycling is another way. I believe it's 4 different seeds that help with your estrogen levels and your progesterone levels. I will do videos on all these topics separate in the future. Also, you want to, again, do your charts. I like to take my temperature every day. I print out a calendar and I take my temperature every day with a regular temperature thermometer, and I put in my temperatures. You also want to know whether you're dry or if you have cervical mucus, because that's going to tell different things to you unless you don't understand it, to your acupuncturist. It will, teach you different things on that. And then also it will tell you when your temperature rises. That's usually when you have a high temperature, that's usually when you're ovulating, and then it will also tell you when your temperature drops. Usually your period comes that next day, but I'll do a separate video on all of this as well, and basal charting and charting that. Another thing I like to do in my female journal is a menstrual cycle dialogue, which your acupuncturist might be asking you. And the first question I have is, how am I feeling? And you know, different things that they would normally ask you in a diagnosis, but I'll also do a different video on that too. So, to conclude this video, you want a plan of action and try different things and be your own doctor and do your research. Try a combination of things and see what works for you. I really hope that this has helped you, and whether it helped bring some awareness to you or awaken you, or that it helps motivate you to do any of these things. Definitely comment down below any questions you have, or if this is helpful for you, or email me. I have all the information down below if you have any questions, or if you want to connect with me. And you know, we have to support each other. Us women have to support each other, especially with things like these, because it is stressful and it can feel isolating, and you don't want to isolate yourself when you're going through this. This video is very long, I'm very aware of that, but we had to cover a lot, and this is not a quick, easy fix. Definitely, it will take time, and it will take your dedication into your own healing journey to cover. Other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video, and stay tuned because I will be talking about other things relating to this video. Namaste. The light in me honors the light in you. Bye.